So when we talk about security preppers, we want to obviously be mindful of what is real security and what is not. These Brinks and other types of similar types of padlocks, especially these laminated ones with these very poorly engineered and very unsecure pin cylinders. This one's like a 4-pin. Some of them are 3 pins. You might even find some of them are even 5 pins, but there's no security pins within the cylinder. So Master Lock and Brinks are some locks to avoid heavily. It's just the illusion of safety and security, and there is no security. You can take paper clips and do that. If you don't have a lock pick, you can take a lot of things and shim this on the shackle. You can pick each individual pins. I actually bypassed the cylinder and just went right to the locking bar mechanism and breached that. As you can see, there's these little locking bars, cutouts on each side, and you can actually, breach that. This design is very poor and it's completely outdated for the modern world as of 2016. And so, yes, it's very tempting to buy things like this, but ultimately you're getting nothing for your money except just for the few people who don't know how easy it is to breach these. You may be able to buy some time or create the illusion of security and safety, but in real life, people who know what they're looking at, and even people who don't that want to attack these will find out that they're much more easier to attack and to overcome than they thought. So what are some options? So if we know to avoid the Brinks and the Master Locks and things of that nature, some of those generic brands you see at Walmart, you want to avoid all of those. You definitely want to avoid the combination locks too, the ones around the dial and the ones on the bottom. It's very easy to shim those as well, and to even pick them, believe it or not, to go underneath the dial or side of the dial, and you can actually pick the levers. So be careful with those. If you want to look at some better padlocks, especially affordable ones, the two that you can get away with pretty well would be Abus. It's a German company. They do make some padlocks on their lower lines from China, but they oversee them and they have good quality control. So Abus. And a lot of their nicer padlocks actually have instead of these locking bars on the shackle, they actually have these detents, and so that you can, the ball bearings, they have a ball bearing system detent, so you can't shim them. Also, I would get padlocks with a minimum of 6 pins, if not more, for sure, with security pins in the cylinder. That would be harder to pick, but even better if you can get something that doesn't have pins, such as like a disc retaining cylinder that doesn't have pins to pick. Disc retaining cylinder locks are going to be the best at this date, and they don't have to be very expensive. SOBO, this is called SOBO Top Security. They're based out of Canada, and they make their locks in China, but they have good quality control. Actually, it's probably the best deal going. And they have very good locks, some of them as big as the 60 millimeters. And you can get those for around $20 to $25 on Amazon. So those are an option besides the Abus. And then if you want to go up the step higher, you can buy the actual Abus locks from Germany. It'll cost a little bit extra, but if you catch them on sale, they're really not that bad. And then if you want to step up above that, because those typically have about an average of around 7 of the disc retainers in the cylinder for the Abus, and the SOBO typically range between 7 and 9. They just differ and vary depending on what lock you get. They cut the keys all differently in different sizes. But once again, the third recommendation would be Abaloy. It's from Finland. This Finnish company, they have a very nice disc retaining lock cylinders, and they typically have even around 11 or more of disc in their particular cylinders. Very robust locks and ball bearing, detents, everything you'd want on your padlock. And you can get them in different kind of constructions. Obviously, aluminum. If you get the security grade aluminum, it's not that bad. They're typically equal to the strength of brass, but about 30% lighter in weight. Brass is kind of the universal padlock, especially for civilians and for the average prepper that doesn't have a lot of high-end things they're trying to protect. A heavy-duty, a 50 or 60 millimeter brass padlock that's built well, that has a good core, that's hard to pick, if not impossible to pick, is going to be the way to go. You can get case-hardened steel bodies, and that's something you could do. They're going to be definitely a lot more expensive, especially if you get a quality core, but it may be a little overkill. Just make sure all of your shackles are hardened steel. That's definitely something that you need to have as a minimum, but the rest of the body doesn't have to be steel. So it's just up to you how much protection you want and how much you want to spend. But if you just do go along with one of the prepper laws of disperse and don't keep all your items in one place, then you're going to have less need to spend so much on padlocks. Also, don't be so naive to think that any hasp is going to work. You need to match your hasp with the strength of the lock. So I see a lot of times these heavy-duty locks and a hasp that isn't even half the strength of the shackle. So you want to match those together, and you also want to make sure your door and your door jamb and your hinges are going to be secure. So you got to find the weakest link and beef that up. But for the average padlock, it secures gates and barn doors and shed doors and garage doors. Maybe some type of cache or something that you buried, a container. But that's about what the average person would use a padlock for. Maybe a workbox. So, it's not like, you're going to have all your items in that particular building or storage, but you still want it to be safe. So with that being said, keep your eyes out for, quality made padlocks. I would totally avoid Home Depot, Lowe's, obviously Walmart, any of these, dollar stores. Never buy locks there. You can go online, Amazon, or go to an individual locksmith, and that's going to be a lot better deal overall, because you're going to probably get quality, especially if you find the name brands that I mentioned. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you soon.